I am so excited. After the news yesterday, I thought to myself, well, what are you going to do on stream? What are you going to talk about? What's that going to look like? And I just thought, you know what? I'm going to take this moment just to gush about Doomsday, to talk about the process, to talk about what I think is coming, because I truly think we're in for a wild couple of months here, and probably a wild couple of years as this is all being built to. The first thing I want to ask you guys in the chat, and I'll take a peek over at the chat. Super interested. Is this a lot faster than you all thought they would be filming Doomsday? I'm just curious. The movie is said to release next year in May, but it kind of feels fast to me. Okay? I'm curious as to what it feels like for you guys, but to me, this does feel like they're moving quickly. They're going wheels up really fast. And if you look at the last couple of interviews with the Russos, they haven't done a ton of interviews, probably because they're going crazy to get all of this stuff figured out, right? They have only really talked about having a hard start date. They've talked about how they had this really killer idea, and that's the idea that's propelling this whole thing forward, right? And I think the reality of the situation with Russos and Secret Wars is that they've wanted to do this for a long time. I mean, they would speak about Secret Wars back when they were doing press for Infinity War and Endgame, particularly around Endgame. And the thing I thought was so cool was they would continuously bring up the fact that all the Fox characters were coming in, meaning like the X-Men and the Fantastic Four and stuff like that. And to the Russos, I truly believe that's the most exciting part of Secret Wars, is having all of those characters together. Now, let's just take a step back, man, because I know that Marvel has had a strange couple of years. I know that even Doomsday itself and RDJ's Doctor Doom, I know that the fans are not necessarily all on board with that. I think everybody's in attendance. I feel like everybody's paying attention. Everybody's going to check it out. It worked insofar as people are engaged with this whole Robert Downey Jr. thing. But let's be real, there's still a lot of fans that are very skeptical of this decision. I think a lot of fans feel like this was just a total pivot, kind of an ass pull, moving away from Kang, and it's a desperate move, right? We're just going to do Robert Downey Jr. We're going to bring him back as Doctor Doom. That'll get the kids going, etc., right? And so I know that the current state of Marvel has made the experience of Doomsday, and speaking about Doomsday, different, because you have to bring in that context. But if I could take you all back to 2019, and if I could take you back to what it was actually like to go through the Infinity War Endgame thing, to be not only a massive fan of that, to be a big channel doing a ton of views with coverage about those movies, man, what a magical time. Truly unlike anything I've ever experienced. I've had a lot of good experiences with Star Wars. As much crap as I give Star Wars and Kathleen Kennedy and the current Lucasfilm team, I think back to watching The Force Awakens the first couple of times with friends back then, and I had a great experience. I really enjoyed Force Awakens. I really enjoyed the entire experience of Star Wars coming back. I really enjoyed the experience being a fan, speculating, watching content, meeting other fans, getting excited about it, and then, of course, experiencing the movie. And even after that, going to Star Wars Celebration and things like that, man, I've had a lot of great experiences with the Star Wars brand. But I don't know if anything can top, and certainly I don't think anything has topped the experience between Infinity War and Endgame. It felt like the entire planet was like watching my favorite show. You ever have a favorite show and you're like, oh man, I wish everybody was watching this so I could talk to everybody about it. That's what it was like for Infinity War and Endgame. And I mean, not just on the internet, everywhere. I had people that were never really interested in superhero stuff asking me, they're like, everybody's getting into this Endgame thing. What do I need to watch to get ready for Endgame? Like, it was a monumental, insane, crazy moment. So many things came together to create that moment, to create those movies, and to make them really special, right? And I think a question that's kind of at the core of most nerdy dudes and gals that lived through that is this going to compare at all? Is Secret Wars and is Doomsday, are these movies that are going to compare? Are we going to get back to that feeling? Are we even going to get close to that feeling? I think that's kind of a big question. Before Secret Wars was ever put on a board officially announced by Marvel Studios, you will recall, especially if you're an OG, if you've been here for a long time, you will recall that I already thought Secret Wars was going to be next, partially because the Russos were speaking about it so much. And to me, just thinking through how Marvel approaches things, what Marvel does, how they think about these things, it seemed obvious to me that the next version of that experience with Endgame would happen in Secret Wars. Because what Infinity War and Endgame really was taking an entire shared cinematic universe, which had been incredibly successful and incredibly popular, and it was taking all of those characters. I think between them, they have like 70, 60, 50, characters about. I'm not exactly sure. But I mean, you've got the Guardians, you've got Spider-Man, you've got the Avengers, you got Cap's team, you've got Tony's team, and it's all layered together, and Thanos and Nebula and Gamora and all this stuff. Like, dude, that was a crazy thing that they did to take that entire universe tied all together within one big story. The whole concept of Secret Wars, even back then when we were thinking about it, was how they could take that same idea and apply it to not just one cinematic universe, but apply it to every single cinematic universe that was Marvel related that had come before. And I just want to kind of remind you that that's really the crux of this idea. Because again, the current state of Marvel and everything that's been happening now sort of overshadows that, and there are a lot of questions and concerns, and I totally understand that. But at the end of the day, if you think about what Kevin Feige wanted to do, he builds this incredible cinematic universe, right? And then he brings it all together in an end cap that was like incredible, satisfying as hell. Honestly, maybe too good of an ending, because then we had trouble getting it started again. But his producer brain, after accomplishing that, turned to the next task, like the next version of that, the leveled up version of that. That's what Secret Wars is. So if you strip it down to its most core and simple idea, okay, what we're talking about is the same formula of Infinity War and Endgame, which pulled together all these different franchises within one cinematic universe. Secret Wars looks to do that leveled up with all the different big characters from all the different Marvel stuff, right? So as far back as like 4 or 5 years ago, we were hearing rumors about Nicolas Cage Ghost Rider. We were hearing rumors about Ben Affleck Daredevil. We were hearing rumors about Tom Jane Punisher. We were hearing all of these rumors about the Fox X-Men, Sir Ian McKellen, Sir Patrick Stewart, all of them. And the reason why is because it's pretty clear that the whole idea here, the whole crux of the fun, the entire angle of the whole fucking thing is to get all the dopest characters, all of the dopest franchises, every single member berry that you could imagine. They want to blow you away. They want you to get in there and be like, I cannot believe that all of those characters, that all of those franchises, that all of that came together within this story. Oh my goodness. Now when I go back and I watch the Fox X-Men movies, I have an extra appreciation for them because those characters end up here. Now when I go back and watch Andrew Garfield Spider-Man or Tobey Spider-Man, I have a better appreciation because it all ends up here. And now I can go watch anything that ever happened Marvel before Secret Wars, and I can appreciate it as a multiverse that comes together at the dead-ass end of it all. Everything's going away. It's all gone, rather, except for Battleworld or whatever Doom ends up creating. Every single piece of Marvel content that was live action up until that moment is on the table. That's on the table. That's what they want to do. And I just think it's worth going back to that and reminding you that's the plan, because again, there's a lot of, you know, more modern stuff, etc., and there are a lot of questions. Like, don't get me wrong, and we'll get into those, and I have a lot to say about it, each and every one of those questions. But let's not forget the promise of this movie. Let's not forget the plan that has been building behind the scenes. I mean, I can't prove this, but my instinct tells me that a lot of the problems with Phase 4 and potentially stuff that lingered into Phase 5 was actually because Kevin Feige immediately started working on Secret Wars. You know, I think it was back in 2020, maybe 2021, I did a podcast with Charles Murphy, who really doesn't do podcasts and shit like that anymore, you know? Charles Murphy was one of the best scoopers and insiders at the time. He still has a platform and a website, and he still knows a lot of stuff about behind the scenes, for sure. But at the time when I did that interview with Charles, he basically said, and he didn't say this outright, but I don't think he minds talking about it anymore. He basically said that Secret Wars was going to be planned for 2024. Okay, 2024, guys. Last year. That's when Secret Wars was originally supposed to happen. So the reason I'm bringing that up is because, sure, it feels like everything's happening quickly. And hey, dude, Doomsday's filming next fucking month. Let's go, baby. Like, it's crazy, okay? And it is fast, and it is happening rapidly. But it was always the plan from Kevin and from Marvel Studios to do this faster than you expected. Partially because of the actors. You know, Ian McKellen, he's not getting any younger. Neither is Patrick Stewart. All these guys, they're not getting any younger. Okay? So I think the calculus from Marvel Studios after Endgame was Kevin went to work on Secret Wars. That was his next big thing. That was the most important thing. And frankly, Phase 4 was filler. And he had delegated a lot to basically the executives, but members of Parliament. This, you know, this thing within Marvel, the think tank group or the brain trust that builds out the canon and shuffles all the pieces around. Brad Winderbaum's a part of it. Nate Moore was a part of it. You know, Marvel, I believe, leaned heavily on Parliament and other executives while Kevin was focused on Secret Wars. And that's kind of when it all goes awry and falls apart, and then they have to kind of rebuild and figure it out. Point being, they always wanted to just get into Secret Wars. It does not surprise me that now they are pushing this very quickly, because frankly, I bet, chat, and I can't prove this, but my instinct tells me this is true, and I bet it's real. I can almost guarantee you that a lot of the major scenes for Secret Wars in particular, a lot of those major scenes, a lot of the things that they want to do in that movie have been on a whiteboard or have been designed by certain concept artists or whatever. I bet those have been around for 3 to 4 years. Like, basically the concepts of, oh, we want Nick Cage Ghost Rider to do this in Secret Wars. Or, oh, we want the Tom Jane Punisher to do this, or we want Ben Affleck Daredevil to do this. I bet a lot of those scenes and a lot of sequences were already developed years ago for these characters. Not to say that they're all going to be in there. They're going to shuffle it around and tweak it. But I'm just basically telling you that I think a lot of stuff from years ago is still in play. I think that's where the creative energy went. And therefore, it's not going to feel like this was rushed. A lot of this is well thought out. A lot of this has been around for years. Okay. Thanks for watching. And if you like this clip, smash a like on the actual video and subscribe to this channel. That way more of these clips get into your feed. I've also linked the full episode below if you want to check out the entire thing, including the Q&A we do with fans. You can also watch this show live. We do it live Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern time. And you can also find all of my content, including the videos I put on my main YouTube channel, on the podcast feed.